Maya's eyes snapped open. Silk sheets. Strange room. A wedding ring on her finger she didn't remember putting on. And a marriage certificate with one name that made her blood run cold. Park Junho, Seoul's most feared mafia boss. Her head was pounding like someone had taken a sledgehammer to her skull. The ceiling above her was impossibly high, with a crystal chandelier that probably cost more than everything she owned. This wasn't her bed. This wasn't her apartment. Panic shot through her veins like ice water. She sat up too quickly and the room spun. Her mouth tasted like regret and expensive whiskey. She was wearing a white silk robe she definitely didn't own. Her dress from last night was folded neatly on a chair across the room, her heels placed perfectly by the door, like someone had arranged them with care. Where the hell was she? Maya's bare feet touched cold marble floor as she swung her legs off the bed. The penthouse stretched around her like something from a billionaire's fever dream. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased Seoul's skyline in the morning light. Modern art hung on the walls. Everything screamed money and power in equal measure. She sat up slowly, and that's when she saw it. A marriage certificate on the nightstand. Her name printed in bold letters next to another name. Park Junho. The signature at the bottom was definitely hers, even though she had no memory of writing it. "No," she whispered, grabbing the paper with shaking hands. "This can't be real." The door opened. A man walked in carrying coffee, and Maya forgot how to breathe. He was tall, dangerously handsome, with sharp features and eyes that had seen things normal people never witnessed. His black hair was perfectly styled, and he wore a white dress shirt like he was born in designer clothes. "Good morning, wife," he said, his voice smooth and dark. Maya's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. He set the coffee on the table near the floor-to-ceiling windows that showcased Seoul's skyline. "You should drink something. You were very enthusiastic about the whiskey last night." "Who are you?" The words finally escaped her throat. "Park Junho. Though you were calling me June last night, quite passionately, if I recall." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "And you're Maya Park now, my wife." "That's impossible. I don't remember any of this." "The chapel was your idea. You said you wanted to do something crazy, something that would make your ex-boyfriend regret every choice he'd ever made." He pulled out his phone, showed her a video. Maya watched herself, drunk and laughing, signing papers at what looked like a 24-hour chapel. She watched herself kiss this stranger like he was oxygen, and she was drowning. Her face burned. "This isn't legal. We can annul it today." "We could," Junho said slowly, moving closer. "But we won't." "Excuse me? You're my wife now, Maya. That's not changing." She laughed, but it came out wrong, slightly hysterical. "You're insane. I'm calling the police." The door opened again. Two men in black suits entered, built like tanks with earpieces and expressions that suggested they'd buried bodies and lost no sleep over it. They bowed toward her in perfect unison. "Mrs. Park," one said, "we'll be stationed outside if you need anything." Maya stared at them, then at Junho. "What is this?" He dismissed the men with a gesture. They left silently. Junho walked to the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at the city. "I should have told you last night, but you were so determined to forget your pain. I didn't want to ruin that moment." He turned to face her. "I'm the head of the Seoul syndicate. In your country, you'd call it the Korean Mafia?" The room tilted. Maya grabbed the bedpost to steady herself. "And you just became part of the family," he continued, his voice matter of fact. Maya didn't wait for permission. She ran for the door, her bare feet slapping against cold marble, but the door opened before she reached it, and a mountain of a man stepped into the frame. He was massive, expressionless, an immovable wall. "Let me out," she demanded, her voice shaking. He didn't blink. "Min-jae takes his job seriously," Junho said from behind her. "His job is to make sure nothing happens to you. You can't keep me prisoner." "You're not a prisoner. You're free to go anywhere in Seoul. Shopping, restaurants, museums. Min-jae will escort you, but you cannot leave the city, and you cannot leave this marriage." Maya spun around. "That's the definition of a prisoner." Junho moved closer, stopping near enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Up close, she noticed a scar above his left eyebrow, the way his jaw tensed when he was holding back words. "You want to call a lawyer?" He pulled her phone from his pocket and held it out. "Call one. Try the embassy. Try anyone you think can help you." This had to be a trick, but Maya grabbed the phone anyway. She tried 3 law firms. The first lawyer went silent when she mentioned Junho's name. Then the line went dead. The second one laughed. Actually laughed. Before hanging up. The third told her frankly that no one in Seoul would touch a case involving the Seoul syndicate unless they had a death wish. The Nigerian embassy was worse. They pulled up her file and cheerfully informed her that she'd filed her marriage certificate that morning at 7 a.m., appeared via video call to confirm all documents, and seemed perfectly coherent and willing. "That's impossible," Maya whispered. "I was asleep this morning." "Ma'am, I'm looking at the footage right now. You're wearing a white robe, sitting in a study. You seemed quite coherent." Maya's world tilted. She remembered nothing. Nothing except waking up in this nightmare. When the calls ended, Junho was watching her with something that might have been sympathy if his eyes weren't so cold. "Finished?" he asked quietly. "What did you do to me this morning?" "You woke up at 6, came to my study, asked for coffee. We talked. You seemed fine, maybe a little quiet. You asked to use my computer to handle some paperwork. Said you wanted to update your emergency contact information." He paused. "I didn't know you were blocking it all out. If I had, I would have stopped you." Before Maya could respond, Junho's phone buzzed. His entire demeanor changed, every muscle going rigid, his expression shifting from guarded to lethal in a heartbeat. "We have a problem." He turned the phone toward her. The image was a photo of her and Junho leaving the chapel last night. She was laughing, leaning into him. They looked happy, but someone had drawn a red target over her face. Below it, a message in English. "The syndicate's new bride. Pretty, fragile, easy." Who sent this? Maya's voice was barely a whisper. "The Jade Serpents, a rival organization trying to move into Seoul." He pulled up more messages, each one worse than the last. Photos of her at restaurants over the past week, leaving her apartment, shopping. Someone had been following her, documenting her movements. "They've been testing my defenses for months, looking for weaknesses. And I'm a weakness. You're my wife, which makes you both a target and a protected asset. They'll use you to get to me if they can." His voice was hard as steel. "Ransom, leverage, or worse." Maya sat down hard, her legs unable to hold her weight. "This is insane. 24 hours ago, my biggest problem was a cheating boyfriend." Junho crouched in front of her, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I know, and I'm sorry. If I could go back and make different choices, I would. But we're here now, and those men know you exist. Divorcing you won't change that. They'll assume it's a trick, or they'll use you anyway just to send a message. So what do I do? You stay close to me. You let Min-jae protect you, and you trust that I will burn this city to the ground before I let anyone touch you." The intensity in his voice should have scared her. Maybe it did. But underneath the fear, something else stirred. Because despite everything, Junho's protection felt real, solid. Over the next 3 hours, Maya learned the rules of her new world. Don't go anywhere without guards. Don't trust anyone Junho hasn't vetted. Don't discuss his business with anyone, ever. And if something happens, run. Don't try to be brave, just run. She also learned about Junho, how he'd watched her for 6 months after seeing her defend his hotel employee from an aggressive customer, how he'd had his people monitor her movements, telling himself it was just business interest when really he was obsessed. That's stalking, Maya said flatly. That's interest, Junho corrected. I wanted to know who you were, if that courage was real or just a momentary impulse. It should have terrified her. Instead, it made her angry. Hot, bright, dangerous anger. Then Junho's phone buzzed again. He glanced at it and stood abruptly. Stay here. Don't leave this room. What's happening? They just grabbed one of my underbosses. This is the opening move. He paused at the door. Lock this behind me. Don't open it for anyone except Minjai. Be careful, Maya said before she could stop herself. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Like he wasn't used to anyone worrying about him. I always am. The door closed. Maya heard the lock click from the outside. 30 seconds later, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Pretty penthouse. Shame if something happened to it. Or to you. Maya's hands shook as she screenshotted the message and forwarded it to Minjai. His response came immediately. On my way to you. Don't open door for anyone else. A knock. Mrs. Park, it's Minjai. Maya unlocked the door. The giant man stepped inside, his expression darker than before. He looked at her phone, then at her face. You're not scared. I'm terrified, Maya corrected. But I'm also angry. They're threatening me to get to him. That's not okay. Minjai's expression might have been approval. Boss chose well. 3 hours felt like 3 years. Maya paced the study, trying to process everything. She was married to a Mafia boss, trapped in Seoul, being hunted by rival gangsters. Her life had gone from normal to nightmare in less than 24 hours. When she heard the penthouse door open, Maya ran into the living room before Minjai could stop her. Junho stood in the doorway, his white shirt torn and blood-stained, a cut above his eyebrow still bleeding, but he was alive. You're hurt. Maya moved toward him without thinking. It's nothing. But he swayed slightly, and she saw pain flicker across his face. She slipped under his arm, supporting his weight despite their size difference. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. Junho let her guide him to the couch, something like wonder in his expression. You're still here. Where else would I be? Most people would be running. Maya grabbed the first aid kit Minjai handed her and started cleaning the cut on Junho's forehead. Her hands were steadier than expected. I'm not most people. You should know that by now. I'm beginning to, he said softly. She worked in silence, cleaning his wounds with careful precision. When she finished, Junho caught her wrist gently. This life isn't going to get easier, he said. The danger won't disappear. There will be more threats, more violence, more nights like this. I can't promise you safety or normalcy. Then what can you promise me? His eyes held hers, dark and intense and completely honest. That I will fight for you with everything I have. That you'll never face this world alone. That every day you choose to stay, I'll give you a reason not to regret it. It wasn't poetry. It wasn't a fairy tale declaration. But it was real, raw, true. Maya leaned forward and kissed him. Not like the drunken kisses she couldn't remember. This was clear-headed and deliberate, a choice made with full knowledge of what it meant. When she pulled back, Junho looked at her like she'd just given him something priceless. I'm still angry about the stalking, Maya said, and the trapped in Seoul thing, and the fact that you let me marry you while drunk. Noted. But I'm choosing to stay, not because I'm trapped, but because maybe the drunk me knew something the sober me was too scared to admit. And what's that? That safe choices already broke my heart once. Maybe it's time to try something dangerous. Junho pulled her closer, wincing slightly at his injuries, but not letting go. Dangerous, I can do. Good. Maya settled against him. Because I have a feeling we're going to need dangerous for what comes next. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya learned to live in Junho's world. She trained with Minjai, learning to read threats and exits, to defend herself if necessary. She met Junho's inner circle, men who looked at her with skepticism at first, but slowly began to show respect. She also learned about the Seoul syndicate. It wasn't like the movies. They didn't run drugs or traffic people. They controlled information, protection, legitimate businesses with underground components. Junho was powerful, yes, but he had rules, lines he wouldn't cross. Why do you do this? Maya asked one night as they sat on the balcony, Seoul's lights spread below them like fallen stars. I was an orphan, Junho said quietly. Grew up on the streets, learned early that the world doesn't protect people like me. So I built something that would. The syndicate takes care of its own. We protect each other when no one else will. Maya understood that. She'd spent her whole life being the strong one, the one who protected others. Maybe that's why Junho had been drawn to her. They were the same in a way. Two people who'd learned that safety was something you built yourself. The Jade Serpents didn't wait long to strike again. It happened at a charity gala, one of those events where Seoul's elite mingled with its underground. Maya wore a dress that cost more than her car back home, and Junho's arm around her waist felt like both a claim and a shield. Stay close, he murmured as they entered the ballroom. Smile, look like you belong here. Maya did. She shook hands with businessmen and crime lords, her face calm even as her heart raced. She was Mrs. Park now, and Mrs. Park didn't flinch. Then she saw him, a man across the room watching her with cold calculation. He raised his glass in a mock toast, and Maya knew this was the Jade Serpent's leader. Junho's hand tightened on her waist. Don't react, just keep smiling. The man approached, moving through the crowd with predatory grace. He stopped in front of them, his smile sharp as a knife. Park Junho, how lovely to finally meet your bride. His English was perfect, his tone mocking. She's even more beautiful than the photos. Chen, Junho's voice was ice. You're not welcome here. It's a public event. I have every right to be here. Chen turned his attention to Maya. You've caused quite a stir, Mrs. Park. Everyone's wondering how a nobody from Nigeria landed Seoul's most eligible bachelor. Maya met his eyes without flinching. Lucky, I guess. Chen laughed. Lucky. Yes, let's call it that. He leaned closer, and Junho tensed beside her. Enjoy your luck while it lasts, Mrs. Park. These things have a way of running out. He walked away, leaving threat hanging in the air like smoke. We're leaving, Junho said, already guiding Maya toward the exit. They made it to the car. Minjai drove, while Junho's other guards formed a protective convoy. Maya's hands shook in her lap, adrenaline finally catching up to her. You did well, Junho said, taking her hand. Chen was testing you, trying to see if you'd break. You didn't. I wanted to punch him. Junho actually smiled. I would have let you. But the night wasn't over. As they pulled up to the penthouse, Junho's phone rang. He answered, his expression darkening with each second. What? Maya asked when he hung up. They took one of my men. Left him beaten outside my club with a message carved into his back. Junho's voice was deadly calm. It says, the wife is next. That's when Maya realized this wasn't a game. This was war, and she was the prize they were fighting over. The next few days were tense. Junho increased security, barely let Maya out of his sight. She could see the strain on him, the way he was stretched thin, trying to protect his territory and keep her safe. Let me help, Maya said one morning as Junho pored over reports in his study. You are helping by staying alive. That's not enough. I'm not just going to hide while people die protecting me. She moved to his desk, looked at the documents spread across it. I'm a marketing consultant. I analyze patterns for a living. Let me look at this. Junho hesitated, then gestured to the papers. Fine. But if I tell you to stop, you stop. Maya spent hours going through reports of Jade Serpent's activities, attacks, threats, movements, and slowly a pattern emerged. They're not random, she said, pointing to a map. Look, every attack happens within a mile of one of your legitimate businesses. They're not just trying to hurt you, they're trying to take over your legal operations. Junho leaned forward, studying the map. Why? Because that's where the real power is. Underground operations can be dismantled, but if they control your legal businesses, they control your money, your influence, your ability to rebuild. Maya circled 3 locations. These are your biggest assets. I bet they hit one of these next. Junho stared at the map, then at Maya. You're right, they've been playing the long game, and we've been treating it like street thugs making noise. He grabbed his phone, started making calls. We need to move assets, increase security at these locations, and set a trap. A trap? If we know where they're going to hit, we can be waiting for them. Junho's smile was cold and dangerous. Time to end this. The trap was set at Junho's flagship hotel, the crown jewel of his legitimate empire. Maya insisted on being there, against Junho's protests. If this goes wrong, I need you safe, he argued. If this goes wrong, nowhere is safe, Maya countered. I'm staying. We're partners now, remember? Junho looked like he wanted to argue more, but finally nodded. Fine, but you stay with Minjai. You don't move unless I tell you to. The attack came at midnight. Jade Serpents hit the hotel hard, 20 men armed and ready for war. But Junho's people were waiting. The lobby became a battlefield, gunfire and chaos erupting in seconds. Maya crouched behind the reception desk with Minjai, her heart hammering. She could hear Junho shouting orders, could see his men moving with military precision. This was his world, and he commanded it like a general. Then Chen appeared, and everything changed. He came through a side entrance, heading straight for the elevator to the penthouse suites where Junho kept his private offices. Maya saw him before anyone else did. Minjai, she hissed, pointing. The big man cursed and spoke rapidly into his earpiece. But Chen was fast and he had a head start. Maya made a decision, maybe a stupid one. She grabbed Minjai's backup gun from his ankle holster and ran after Chen before he could stop her. She caught up to him at the elevator. He spun, gun raised, but hesitated when he saw it was her. Mrs. Park, how brave, or how stupid. Chen smiled. You should have stayed hidden. You should have stayed in China, Maya shot back, her gun surprisingly steady in her hands. All those training sessions with Minjai had paid off. Chen laughed. You won't shoot me. You're not like us. You're right. I'm not like you. Maya's voice was cold. I actually care about people, but I will shoot you if you take one more step toward that elevator. They stood frozen, guns pointed at each other. Then footsteps, running fast. Junho appeared, blood on his shirt but very much alive. He took in the scene in a second. Maya, lower the gun. Not until he does. Chen's smile widened. She's got spirit, Junho. I can see why you're obsessed. Last chance, Chen. Walk away. Take your men and leave Seoul. I'll give you 24 hours before I hunt you down. Generous, but I don't think so. Chen's finger moved on the trigger. Maya fired first. Not at Chen, but at the chandelier above his head. Crystal rained down, and Chen stumbled back, momentarily blinded. Junho moved like lightning, disarming him in two brutal moves. Chen hit the floor hard, Junho's knee on his chest and a gun to his head. "You just threatened my wife," Junho said quietly. "That was a mistake." Police sirens wailed in the distance. Junho's men had called them. Now that the shooting had stopped, it was over. The Jade Serpents were finished in Seoul. Junho stood, keeping his gun trained on Chen until his men took custody. Then he turned to Maya, and the ee. Anger in his eyes made her step back. "What the hell were you thinking?" he demanded. "You could have been killed." "I was thinking you needed backup," Maya shot back. "And I was right. He was going to flank you. I had it handled." "Did you? Because from where I was standing, you had 20 guys to deal with and missed the one heading for your office." They stared at each other, both furious, both terrified for the other. Then Junho grabbed her and kissed her hard, desperate, like he'd thought he'd lost her. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Junho pressed his forehead to hers. "Don't ever do that again," he whispered. "Can't promise that." "I know." He held her tighter. "That's what scares me." The aftermath took days to sort out. Chen and his men were arrested, evidence of their crimes carefully provided by Junho's people. The Jade Serpent's Seoul operation collapsed overnight. Maya and Junho stood on their penthouse balcony a week later, watching the sun set over the city. She wore her wedding ring, the one she'd barely noticed that first morning. Now it felt like part of her. "My family wants to visit," Maya said quietly. "My sister keeps asking when she can meet my husband." "What did you tell her?" "That I married a businessman, which is technically true." Maya looked up at him. "But I should probably tell her the rest eventually." "Will she understand?" "Probably not, but she'll see how you look at me, and that might be enough." Maya leaned into him. "How do you look at me?" "Like you're the best mistake I ever made." Junho smiled. "And the scariest." "Good. You should be scared. I'm not the same woman who woke up here 6 weeks ago." "No. You're stronger, braver, more dangerous." He kissed her temple. "You're perfect." Maya thought about that first morning, the panic and fear and disbelief. She thought about everything that had happened since. The violence, the danger, the moments where she'd been certain she wouldn't survive. But she also thought about the man who'd fought for her, protected her, trusted her to fight beside him. The family she'd found in Minjai and the others. The purpose she'd discovered in helping run an empire. "So," Junho said, "any regrets?" Maya looked out at Seoul, the city that had become her home, her battlefield, her kingdom. She thought about Marcus, about the woman she'd been before, about the safe, predictable life she'd thought she wanted. "Not one," she said, "though next time we get married, I'd like to remember it." Junho laughed, the sound warm and genuine. "Deal. We can renew our vows, sober, intentional, with your family there." "And your men?" "My men. Our men," he corrected. "This is your empire too now, Mrs. Park." Maya smiled. Mrs. Park. 6 weeks ago, the name had felt like a prison. Now it felt like power. The red laser dot on her chest that had started this chapter of her story had missed. Chen's sniper had been caught before he could fire. But Maya had learned something important. In that moment when death had danced across her skin, she wasn't afraid to die. Not anymore. She was afraid of losing this, losing him, losing the life she'd accidentally stumbled into, drunk and heartbroken. So if you've made it this far, you're probably wondering what happened next. Did Maya's family accept her new life? Did more threats emerge? Did she and Junho get their second wedding? Well, that's a story for another time. But if you want to hear it, if you want to know what happens when a marketing consultant becomes a mafia queen, then smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. Drop a comment telling me what you'd do in Maya's situation. Would you have run or would you have stayed and fought? And don't forget to like this video if you're hooked on dangerous love stories that blur the line between right and wrong, because Maya and Junho's story isn't over. It's just beginning, and trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next when the most dangerous enemies aren't rival gangs or snipers or threats from the outside. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you see in the mirror, questioning whether you've lost yourself or finally found who you were always meant to be. Seoul glittered below them, beautiful and deadly and full of possibilities. And in a penthouse high above it all, two people who should never have met held each other close and prepared for whatever came next. Because sometimes the wrong night, the wrong decision, and the wrong person turn out to be exactly right, even if that forever comes with bodyguards, death threats, and a husband who runs the Korean underworld.